This is a Honda NSX, the car that spent so long being developed many wondered whether or not it would actually happen. Its predecessor is something of a legend, and a car you're not allowed to mention without saying that Ayrton Senna had a hand in its development. So this one needs to be pretty good. I've heard mixed things about the NSX. Some people say it's the best thing ever, others are less complimentary, so I thought I'd do the most sensible thing I could, and that's take one of 2016's most technologically advanced supercars to the racetrack and find out just what it can do. The NSX has 4 motors under its shell, a 3.5 litre twin-turbo V6, a 48 horsepower electric motor to act as a starter motor and torque gap filler, and 2 37 horsepower electric motors at the front. As a result of all that, the new NSX kicks out 574 horses and 476 pound-foot. 0 to 62 takes about 3 seconds. Its top speed is 191 miles an hour. Now, arguably, it's aping current hypercar tech, so you've got an internal combustion engine and lots of electric motors to keep things moving. But unlike a lot of them, all that EV stuff isn't used for super silent electric only driving. No, much like the LaFerrari, the electric motors are just here to make it go faster. Good. Now let's rewind time a bit. The original NSX was designed to be a foil to the sports cars coming from Germany, Italy and the like. It was mid-engined, fast, good-looking and, well, bloody good. The new one is mid-engined, fast, good-looking and designed to take on cars from Italy and Germany, and, well, let's find out just how good it is. So then, NSX, me, racetrack, what do we think? Good lord, this thing is fast. The first thing you notice about it is that with everything set to super screw you mode, it's so responsive. The steering is absolutely beautiful. Occasionally you feel the front grabbing you, tugging you through. It feels phenomenal. You feel like you can get away with going a lot quicker than you normally would in a lot of other things. The speed of the car, the power of the car, it's unbelievable considering it weighs 1,700 kilos. It feels so light, it feels so nimble. With that engine, the noise, it's quite a hollow noise. It's a very V6-y V6. When you get on it, drop it down a couple of cogs. Oh, a really lovely hollow noise. We've got big old stoppers on this thing. My God, they work so well as well. And there's lots of trickery and skullduggery in there that basically give you the brake feel you want every time you apply the pedal. The idea is so you can press the pedal however much you want it to, but the car will figure out how much is there and what it can do to give you a consistent feel at any given time. Great in theory, in practice really good, but I do want to know what happens when the brakes start running out. Ride-wise on circuit, it's good, man. It corners flat, it corners level, it feels utterly fantastic. This is supercar with all of the technology. The gearbox as well, 9-speed. It shifts so cleanly. Then you put it into Sport Plus. Now the interesting thing about Sport Plus is it uses the motor to generate power for the batteries. Normally it'll run it down and then the motor will kick in as and when. But in Sport Plus and in track, what it'll do is it'll just give you lots of go and the battery will charge up. So you have as much assistance as possible as and when you want it. There are a few downsides. The pedals sound awful. They sound genuinely terrible. And the infotainment system is awful. Ignore the infotainment stuff. It's not worth it. This isn't a car to concentrate on that kind of thing. This is a car all about the driving. And when you start getting a little bit slithery and a little bit on the limit, the steering, the yaw race of the car is so good and so controllable when you're in control. When you start approaching the limit, it's easy to transition, you know what it's doing, it's such a communicative bit of kit. It really is, it's utterly fantastic. This thing is alive. Honda is nailing fast car at the moment. The Civic Type R, brilliant bit of kit. The NSX is something else. It really is. If Honda thinks this is the future of the supercar, I'm totally down with it.
So that's that then. The car from Japan that took wholly too long to come out is pretty neat, but how does it stack up against something from Germany? It's a good thing I found another toy to play with, the Audi R8 V10 Plus.
So, why the Audi? Well, compared to the Honda, it is decidedly old school. It's got a 5.2 litre, 610 horsepower, naturally aspirated V10 right in the middle. In fact, it's one of the last naturally aspirated supercars you can buy. And it's also got a big silly wing on the back, because that's what supercars should have.
Okay, so it's not the most old school of the old school. It, like the NSX, has an automatic gearbox, for example, though it's not got as many gears as the Honda, so there's that. Both cars come with four-driven wheels, engines in the middle, and power well north of 550 horses. In fact, the Audi has a bit more power and around 200 fewer kilos on board. No jazzy EV tech here.
Audi says its R8 can do 0 to 62 in a shade over 3 seconds, and it'll top out well over 200 miles an hour. Now, we can't do a high-speed run here at Castle Combe, but we can have a drag race and see if technology is any replacement for good old-fashioned displacement. I've never had an Audi R8 V10 Plus around a track in anger. Now I do. Good God, the noise. That V10 is simply phenomenal. No turbos dampening it, just 10 cylinders exploding with happiness. And it revs so high as well. You can wring the knackers out of this thing. And when you've got it in performance mode, which I have now, or in performance dry, you get a little bit less traction control and it's a little bit more angry. And then you notice the grip, the all-wheel drive system in this is, oh boy, she's good. She's so good. The gearbox in the Audi, 7-speed, dual clutch, so slick, so smooth. Quite violent when you want it to be. Brakes easy to modulate, very solid, work very, very well. Very well indeed. The engineering that has gone into this motor car is just immense. The first R8 was so good. This one, it's better by a long margin. Compared to the Honda, what's it like? The Honda, the interior isn't as good, for one. Audi's interiors are brilliant and bulletproof. Once again, proved here. I have my virtual cockpit display, which I sort of have in the Honda, but not quite. I've got that awful infotainment system in there, and the infotainment on the Audi is just bang on. There's a bit more room in the Honda. It feels a little bigger, feels a bit more spacious. Whereas in here, you're a little bit tighter. For something so big, that a little bit off-putting. The drive, though, the Honda's such a changeable car. When you want it to be quiet, it will be whisper quiet, whereas this can go into a sensible street mode. It's not that quiet still. You've got a V10 behind you, and yes, this has its concession to economy with cylinder shut-off, whereas the Honda has eco-electric bits to help things along, and a litre and a bit less, but I prefer the naturally aspirated feel. The all-wheel drive system in the Honda, you feel it when it's assisting you, and it works wonderfully well. Whereas with the Audi, you have a little bit more confidence in it that it's going to catch you. So I feel I can push it just that little bit harder. In all, it feels like a more sorted product, but the experience you get, just the noise of this, and the sheer pace of the acceleration. So we're in second gear now. It's so fast! That big wave of naturally aspirated, angry, fiery torque.
It seems there are many ways to skin a cat. Both of these cars have phenomenal power, look fantastic, and make the driver feel pretty good. But which one would I take home? And which one should be left in the past? Both the NSX and the R8 are truly outstanding cars. The NSX taking modern technology to make it simply go faster and be better. For me, the sound and feel of a naturally aspirated engine is one that's definitely quite hard to beat. So as to what I take home, the R8 stands a pretty good chance. However, for its technology and for its look, I think I'll be taking the NSX. And then I drove the R8 just a little bit more. And you know what? As good as the Honda is, that old school V10 natural aspiration, amazing power mid-engine noise thing, it just can't be replaced. Sorry Honda, not this time.